You're 16, and the car is a 1998 Honda Civic hatchback you bought for $600 from a guy who looked genuinely relieved to see it leave. The driver's window only rolls down 2/3 of the way. There's a fast food receipt fossilized in the door pocket from before you were born. The check engine light has been on so long you've stopped seeing it. To everyone else it's a problem, to you it's a beginning. Your garage isn't really a garage. It's a concrete square attached to the house that smells like old motor oil and holds a chest freezer nobody's opened in years. You shove the freezer to one wall, hang a single flickering fluorescent tube, and you drag the Civic in. And here's the part that matters. You don't know what you're doing, not yet. You learn off a cracked phone propped against a toolbox, pausing a video, doing the thing, getting it wrong, rewinding to find out why. You strip your first bolt and spend 40 minutes with an extractor kit and a word your mother wouldn't like. You plug a vacuum line back in wrong and the engine idles like it's having a seizure, until an hour later you finally spot it. Every mistake costs you time and money you don't really have. And every mistake teaches you something no video ever could. Your first real modification is a cold air intake. 3 weeks of gas money for one shiny tube. Truthfully, it barely makes more power at all, but it sounds meaner. And at 16, sounding meaner is the entire world. You sit in the driveway that night with the engine running and you feel like you changed something. You did, something inside you. You're 18 now and the Civic has been through phases. A header, a real exhaust that finally doesn't rattle, coilovers, a front lip you painted yourself in the driveway that's just slightly crooked, but only if you know to look. You know this car the way you know a person. You know the exact sound it makes cold. You know the one rattle that shows up only over a specific bump at a specific angle. You even get it tuned. A laptop plugged into a port under the dash, someone rewriting the numbers the engine lives by. But on this little engine breathing ordinary air, the tune frees only a handful of horsepower. You file that away, you'll understand why later. Then you discover the car meets a far corner of a parking lot on Sunday nights. 40 cars, 100 people, and a whole culture you didn't know existed. The first time you feel like you walked into a room where everyone already knows each other and you know nobody. You park at the edge. Then someone wanders over, looks at your car and just starts talking to you. And someone eventually looks at your build and tells you flatly exactly what's wrong with it. Your wheel fitment, your brake bias, it stings, and then you realize something. Nobody bothers to critique a build they don't respect. Then one night a leased German sedan revs at you at a red light, and you take the bait. For 11 glorious seconds you're a hero. Then you spot a parked police car 3 blocks up and your stomach turns to ice water. He never even saw you. You drive home slow, heart hammering, and you make yourself a quiet promise. From now on, the racing happens at the track where the only thing you can lose is a time slip. By now you've squeezed nearly everything a normal engine will give, and a normal engine can only breathe so much air. To go further, you'd have to force it. 20 years old and you do the one thing that changes everything. You bolt on a turbocharger. A turbo force feeds the engine far more air than it could ever swallow on its own. And now, finally, that laptop matters. With boost and timing to give, the same tune that did almost nothing before Freeze 50, then 100 horsepower that simply never existed. The first full boost pull genuinely frightens you. There's a half-second of quiet as the turbo spools and then the car just lunges, it surges like it's angry. And for one honest second, you are just a passenger to something you built. Then a week later you nearly burn the whole thing down. Literally. A turbo spins at over 100,000 RPM and it survives on a thin thread of engine oil. The cheap feed line you save $20 on springs a leak at midnight, sprays oil on a glowing metal, and thin blue smoke starts curling out from under the hood. You catch it in seconds. The lesson lasts forever. On a turbo car, the $5 part is never where you save $5. But the pistons underneath were never built for this. Around this power, the factory bottom end starts living on borrowed time. Every pull, you're writing a check its insides will one day be asked to cash. You expect the car to just keep getting faster from here. It doesn't, something else runs out first, and it isn't power. 22, and for the first time in your life, adding power makes the car worse. Everything the engine makes has to reach the road through 4 patches of rubber, each about the size of your palm. That's it. That's your entire connection to the earth. And your car is front-wheel drive, which means the same 2 tires that steer are the ones you're begging to put down every single horse. Ask them to do both, and physics just says no. Somewhere around 300-400 horsepower, a front-wheel drive car simply gives up. You finally asked more of those tires than the world will allow. So you learn the unglamorous half of speed, the half nobody posts: grip before power, wider tires, a stronger drivetrain, making the car able to use what it already has before you dare give it more. Because a fast car in unready hands is just a faster way to make the same mistake. You never forget that again. 25, and you do the hardest thing you've done yet. You sell the Civic. You sell it to a kid who reminds you of you 4 years ago, and you tell him the one rattle over the one bump at the one angle. He nods like it's nothing. It isn't nothing, but he'll learn that. Finding the right one takes 4 months. You drive 2 hours to look at a Supra that turns out to be 2 wrecks welded together over a rusted frame, wearing fresh paint like a lie. You walk away. It stings the whole drive home. But the discipline that can walk away from the wrong car is the exact discipline that will one day build the right one. You put the money plus savings plus a loan you'll feel for years toward a car with a real ceiling. A Toyota Supra, and the legendary iron block underneath it, an engine practically built to be pushed. This time you build it properly, not because you couldn't before, but because now you finally know what properly means. Every part has a reason. Every change connects to the next one. You forge the internals so they can take the beating this block was born to take. You upgrade the fuel system because more power just means more fire to feed. And you tune it yourself now, logging every pull, reading the data like a language you finally speak. It makes 700 horsepower on a dyno in a shop you respect, not a number you're guessing. A number with a chart behind it, and the drive home is the most focused 30 minutes of your life. 28, and you cross a line the car never comes back from. 4 figures, 1,000 horsepower. At this power, ordinary gasoline betrays you. Under this much pressure, it ignites too early all on its own and hammers the engine from the inside like a fist. They call it knock, and it can kill an engine in seconds. So you switch to E85 and race fuel. They resist that early ignition, and they are the only reason more boost is even survivable. But now the car can't just drive to work. It fouls its plug sitting in traffic. It drinks fuel like it's furious. It shudders at idle and demands to be driven hard or not at all. So you do the most grown-up thing you've ever done. You buy the most boring car on earth. A beige commuter no one has ever photographed just so the monster can rest. 16-year-old you would have laughed. Now you understand the daily takes the miles so the weapon keeps its edge. It stopped being transportation somewhere back there. It became a statement. The kind you make once and then pay for forever. 31, you don't chase attention anymore. It finds you. People recognize the car across a crowded event before they ever recognize your face. And that's the part nobody warns you about. Somewhere along the way, the car became the famous one, and you became the guy who owns it. So you start helping other people's builds, not for money, because a stranger's hard problem reminds you exactly why you fell in love with all of this in the first place. A guy's engine has run rough for 2 years. 3 shops gave up on it. You spend one Saturday methodically and you find a vacuum leak so small it's almost funny. His car runs clean for the first time since he bought it, and it's the best you've felt in months. 35 and you decide to go after a record. You tell yourself it's about the number. It isn't. It's a question you've carried since you were 16 in a concrete garage with a stripped bolt and an extractor kit. How far does this actually go? You strip the car down to its bones. Everything that doesn't make it faster or keep you alive comes out. The passenger seat, the carpet, the radio you used to love. And somewhere in the middle of the chase, you notice something you don't say out loud. The question has quietly replaced the joy. Some nights, you wonder what else you stripped out of your life to get here. And you finally learn the thing solo builders resist the longest. You cannot do this part alone. A record car needs eyes on the data, hands on the fuel, someone watching the weather and the track temperature. So for the first time since that concrete garage, you let people in. A tuner you trust, a friend with a stopwatch and zero patience for your excuses. And it stops being your build, it becomes your cruise. The first record attempt fails. A part lets go at the top of 4th gear, exactly where the data swore it wouldn't. You find it that night, you fix it. Because every failure you have ever had, all the way back to that first stripped bolt, became part of what you now know. 38 years old, 2,000 horsepower. That is the combined power of about a dozen ordinary family cars, welded into one engine in one car that you built with your own hands. A billet block carved from a single piece of metal, a turbo the size of a dinner plate, every part sacrificed for one number. It can't idle in traffic. It won't last 10,000 miles. It exists to do exactly one thing one time. Record day, the car runs, and this time it runs clean. The record falls by a margin that surprises even you. And you don't post about it right away. You drive home. You sit in your kitchen with something warm and you think about a $600 Civic with a window that only rolled down 2/3 of the way. The distance between that garage and this kitchen is almost impossible to measure, and yet the logic of it is perfectly clear. Every step led to the next one. Every mistake became knowledge. Every car taught you something the one before it couldn't. And somewhere out there tonight, a 16-year-old is dragging a $600 car into a concrete garage with tools they don't understand yet and a phone propped against a toolbox. They're going to strip their first bolt. They're going to feel stupid. And they're going to get it right eventually and feel the exact thing you felt. That's how it's supposed to work. So if you made it to the top of this one, tell me in the comments, what should you become next? And subscribe, because on this channel we always start from zero.